Hi Booktube, Lynette here, and first of all, before I tell you what this video is going to be about, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who sent me messages, reached out, just let me know that you were there, that you were listening to my video where I talked about why I'm not really around at the moment. I just wanted to say thank you. It's important to talk about when you're not feeling great mentally, and that was why I made the video, because I wanted to let you know why I'm not around and to let you know that I'm not okay, and that's okay, and that I'm working on it, and part of working on it is that I just can't film videos at the moment. But that being said, I really wanted to have a go at Becca's Bookopoly in September, so I wanted to do a TBR video because in a way sit-down videos like the one that I did are not easy to film, but sometimes with doing this TBR where there's lots of different elements to pull together, especially for me because I use on my phone to do my filming. I don't have a separate camera, so I have to do lots of different things and move around and do lots of moving around. It just kind of makes it a little bit more involved, but not, and it just found it easier to focus on for some reason instead of, yeah. So anyway, so I thought I'd have a go. For anyone who doesn't know, Bookopoly is a TBR game that Becca over at Becca and the Books made up a few years ago based on the game of Monopoly. She has her own board which she sets up at the beginning of the year, and she uses that to set her TBR throughout the year. But she does 2 public readathons a year. She does a 48-hour one early part of the year, and she does a month-long one which is September this year. And she does a board specifically for us to use publicly. She does do printouts and everything, and it's not too late to get on board if you haven't started. I don't have access to my own printer, so I actually draw the board out. So what she does is, instead of having street names in all the coloured spaces, what she does is instead she gives them all prompts and different ways to trigger us to pick up books. So this is my version of her board for this September. Basically you play Monopoly. You roll a dice and you go around the board, and whichever prompt you land on is the prompt that you need to help you pick your book. I decided that I would do 4 rolls. Now, we all know that I can read more than 4 books a month. However, as with Monopoly, if you roll a double, you get another go. Only in Bookopoly, you add another book. So I thought 4 is great because if I get any doubles, it gives me room to add books in without making me feel too overwhelmed, and it will give me the opportunity to pick smaller books if I want to as well. So that's where we're going. So let's get on and show you the first roll. So my first roll is a double. Thanks for that, board. It's a 12. So let's see where this takes us to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Pole pick. So the first roll was a double, and that took me around to pole pick. Now, pole pick is to pick a selection of books you want to read and then put a poll out on social media. I don't have enough of a following on social media to be able to run a poll like that. So I decided instead I would get one of my cats to pick it for me, and I have filmed that whole section, and the next bit of video that you see will be my cat Tabby, my female cat, I decided, because she was the one nearest to me, and she will pick the book for me. Okay, sorry for the strange angle on this one. This is poll pick. It says to use your favourite social media, but I don't really use social media that much. Don't really have enough of a presence to do that, so I've decided to change it to pet pick instead. I have 4 books here that are ones that I want to read. So I've got Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden, which is the 2nd book in the Winter Night series. Guild by Raven Kennedy, which is the first book in the Plated Prisoner series. Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor, which is the second book in her Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. And Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco, which is the first in the Kingdom series that she's written. So I'm just going to put a treat on here. Sorry, my cat is flailing around in the background because she's desperate to get to the treats. So I'm just going to let her go, and whichever one she decides to go to first and eat the treat off of first is the one that I will read. So, Tabby, you ready? Go. She's probably not going to do it now. Right, which one are you going to pick, Tabs? You've got to pick a book for Mama. So, which one? Or do I need to let your brothers in and see what they pick? Tabby? Hey. Right. Pick a treat. Pick a treat. There we go. So it will be Guild. Oh, it will be Guild by Raven Kennedy. So I gave my cat the choice of 2 series starts and 2 series continuations. It took a little bit of coaxing for her to actually steal the treat off the book, but eventually she did go to one first, and she picked Guild by Raven Kennedy. This is the story of a young woman who is plucked off the streets by King Midas, and she has to promise to love him forever. And then he breaks her love and her trust. Yes, it sounds intriguing. I picked this up on a whim. I'd seen, there's been recent releases in the series, and I'd seen them around YouTube, and when I was in the bookshop back at the beginning of July, I think it was, I picked it up because I thought it sounded really interesting. So yes, so definitely a great start because it is fantasy romance, and fantasy and romance are 2 of my favourite genres, so combining them into one book is a very good idea. For my second roll, I've got a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's my favourite genre. So my second roll thankfully wasn't another double, but it did take me up to favourite genre. As I just said in about my previous book, my favourite genres are romance or fantasy. Combined fantasy romance combines the best of the 2, but I do have a book that I want to get onto my TBR, and it's a fantasy book, and that book is Wrath by John Gwynne. It is the 4th and final book in his Faithful and the Fallen series about a god war and an earth war. And on Earth, there is two factions against each other, one who are following the dark sun and one who are following the bright star. And also it quite neatly falls into the various factions in the Banished Lands are split into these 2 factions as well. They're either influenced by the influence on the dark sun, or they're being influenced by the influence on the bright star. And I'm really enjoying these books. I have a feeling that you can just see them here. I have a feeling that I am going to have to reread them in paperback format because I've been listening to them on audio, and I've said this in all my previous TBRs and wrap-ups that I'm not sure I'm catching everything in audio, because I tend to listen to audio when I'm driving. And yeah. I finished Ruin this past week that I'm filming this, and I really need to get on and read Wrath because it is the final book, and there were some things brought up in Ruin towards the end of it, some questions that have been asked by both sides that are quite intriguing and quite interesting, and I'd really like to know how things turn out from here. So definitely going to be picking up Wrath and listening to that. every opportunity I get. One of the things I have to do for my mindfulness is I need to get out and start walking in the evenings again after I've had my evening meal. So definitely going to be listening to this on my way to and from work, and going to try and listen to it on an evening walk as well. Pick number 3 is another double, so that's me up to 6 rolls of the dice then. Let's see where this goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Autumn, so that's picking a book that is set in the autumn, autumnal themed, make you think of autumn, just anything like that at all. So my third roll took me up to the autumn square, and as you heard, this just needs to be, it either needs to make you think of autumn, or it has to have an autumnal cover, or set in autumn, anything to do with autumn at all. And the same with the other squares if you land on them, spring, summer and winter. For my book club that I belong to, which used to be called Just One More Page, Jess has had a rebrand and it's now called the Cozy Book Company. We decided that we need to start reading autumnal books, and we've got a couple of potential picks for September, but at the point that I'm filming this, we haven't chosen it yet. It's either going to be The Nature of Witches or Once Upon a River. But yes, they're both autumnal in feel, both autumnal in look. So one of those will definitely be the pick for this. And if I get round to filming a wrap up for September, then I will let you know which one we chose. Roll number 4, what should have been my final roll, is another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A book told in first person perspective. So my fourth pick has taken me up to first person perspective, and I found this one really difficult because this isn't something I read from. And then when I went to Becca's recommendations video, I didn't really want to read the book that she had set, because it's one that I'd read before. And I don't really want to reread it at the moment. So instead of going through my Kindle and opening up every single book on my Kindle, I decided to go through my physical shelves and open up every unread book on my physical shelves. Thankfully, only a couple of books in, I found one, and I'm going to read The Short Knife by Erin Caldecott. This came in a book box subscription a couple of years ago. I don't really remember what it's about, so excuse me, I'm going to read the synopsis to you. It says, "The moment the Saxons stepped onto our land, it began. He was the first stone thrown down the mountainside that bounced and rattled the rest loose until I was caught in the landslide. The world seemed to be built by men trying to out-frighten each other. Where was the place for girls like me in all of that? The Roman Empire has withdrawn from Britain, throwing it into the chaos of the Dark Ages. May has been kept safe by her father and her sister Half, but when Saxon warriors arrive at their farm, the family is forced to flee to the hills where British warlords lie in wait. Can May survive in a dangerous world where speaking her mother tongue might be deadly, and where even the people she loves most can't be trusted?" So it sounds very much up my street. It's historical fiction, and I've been getting into historical fiction, although mostly Greek myth retelling. So yeah, so I think this is going to fire my taste buds for what I have been reading recently, and I'm looking forward to picking it up finally, because it's been on my shelf for a couple of years, and it's definitely going to be one that I want to read. Roll number 5, the first of my extra rolls, is an 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Community shelf, that means I have to pick from a random prompt. Show you that on my randomizer app I do have 2 lists to set up. One for chance, which is the list of 16 books to randomise, and one for community chest, which is a list of 16 additional prompts or things to make you pick up various books to choose from. So as I've landed on community chest, let's have a look at the list. So as you can see, I have a list of 16 prompts here. just to try to get me to pick up a romance. So as you can see, 5-star prediction is at the top. Start a series, continue a series, finish a series, because that is something I'm trying to do this year. My earliest purchase, but I am excluding classics from that. My most recent purchase, historical fiction, because I have a couple on my shelf. Fantasy, because again I have a few on my shelf. Romance, I have a lot of romance. A book from a book box, because I have some that I haven't read yet. An outstanding advanced reader copy, because again I have some outstanding. A book I possibly am going to unhaul. A middle grade book, reread a favourite book, which would be good. A hardback book, or an ebook, but not a romance. That's to try and get me to read a few of the other things on my shelf. So let's scroll back to the top and let's hit the randomise button. An outstanding advanced reader copy. So my fifth roll, because I've had a double, took me to Community Shelf, and Community Shelf came up with read an outstanding advanced reader copy, and I have quite a few because I am behind with my NetGalley, as I always am. I have decided to pick Obsidian by Sarah Daly. Again, just like the short knife, I can't really remember what it's about. I requested it last year, so I'm just going to read the synopsis out to you. Shade Knox is the only witch in a land of wizards, a fiend, a rogue and a wanted criminal. Defying those who think her an abomination, Shade wears her tattoos openly and carries obsidian blades at her hips. For years, she has protected the outcast clans who wander the blighted wastes, but the land is growing more unstable and her blades are no longer enough. To save her people, Shade vows to raise a veil of protection, a feat not accomplished in over 100 years. But the magical veils are said to belong to the Brotherhood Church. If she succeeds in raising one, it will expose their lies. They swear to see her obliterated first. Treading a dangerous path where allies can be seen as deceitful as enemies and where demons lurk in the shadows, Shade chases a vision which could lead to her people's salvation or her own destruction. So again, it's fantasy. Fantasy is one of my favourites. That's probably why I requested it in the first place. It does sound really intriguing. So yeah, lots of things could be exposed by Shade doing what she wants to do. So yeah, so let's see how I get on with it, and do I finally knock another arc off of my list on NetGalley and get my rating up, because I need to get my rating up before I can start requesting more books, because I'm way behind. Prompt number 6 is another double, and it's a 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. People. So that's a book with people on the cover, or people are the main focus of the cover. Roll number 6 was another double, so please let this be the final one. Roll number 6 took me to people on the cover, and I've decided to choose The Baron by Jessie Donovan. Jessie Donovan is a fantasy romance writer, and she writes, primarily she writes shifter romances, dragon shifter romances, but she has this science fiction romance series as well, which I've only read the first one, but I really enjoyed it. I love her writing. This is set in space on fictional worlds, with surrounding a race called the Keldaran, and also there are humans involved as well. Excuse my cats, they're not happy with each other at the moment. But yes, Vala is wanting to move to a planet where there are humans, and Jolin, I think, Jolif, not quite sure of his first name. He's the captain of the ship escorting her there, and she is found unconscious in his quarters because she was cleaning them and somebody's attacked her, and they have to figure out why, and are they going to get to the human planet safely. So yeah, I really, like I said, I really enjoyed the premise of this series when I read the first book a couple of years ago. I want to move on with it. Jessie has recently put all of her backlist titles in Kindle Unlimited, so I've downloaded as many of them as I possibly can. This series is one of them. So this is going to knock another book off of my series continuation. So I'm looking forward to picking it up. And thankfully, what is my final roll is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a book published or set after 1999, so between 2000 and 2019. And yay, my final roll, no more doubles. So this has taken me up to a book that was either set between the year 2000 and the year 2019 or released between those two dates. And thankfully, the book club pick for the Literature Club this month is a book that was released in 2015. So I am picking The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is about Hannah, who has a crush on a boy at school. They're in their late teens. It's America, so it's late teens. Yeah. High school, I think it is. I'm not quite sure of the terminology, but they're kind of 16 to 18-year-olds. Anyway, she really likes this guy who isn't paying her any attention. She needs to get his attention. And to do that, she needs to tutor the captain of the hockey team. Garrett is the captain of the hockey team. He likes Hannah, and he decides to tutor Hannah in the ways of seduction, which for 16 to 18-year-olds, I always find that premise a little bit. I can't read YA, new adult romance very often, because they're just so young to be that experienced at these things. And yeah, it doesn't sit well with me. But yes, I'm going to go into it wanting a good time. I will ignore their ages and just pretend they're not at school, and see how I go from there. But that is the September pick for the Literature Club, as I said. So I've managed to get both my book club picks in as well. So those are the 7 books that are set for September because of Bookopoly. I was hoping for more mood read picks than that, but I think I have managed to work a few in. Certainly I've managed to keep on top of like dealing with series. So I've got one series start, but I've definitely got one series continuation on there. And you know, who knows, if I get through all 7 books, maybe there'll be additional rolls to come later in the month. We will see. We'll see how I'm getting on, and we'll see where I go from here. Are you taking part in Bookoplathon? If you are, let me know. If you've put up a TBR video, link it down below in the comments. I will come and watch and cheer you on from the sidelines as well. Like I say, I'm not really adding videos, doing sit down wrap ups and things like that for YouTube at the moment. But I am watching YouTube. It's something that I put on in the background while I am reading, when I manage to settle down to read. So yeah, I'd love to know what everyone else is reading for Bookoplathon. If not, just what are you planning to read in September? Let me know. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. I've had another little flurry of subscribers recently, so I'm back up over 140 subscribers. And I love watching those numbers build and starting to chat with everybody. Thank you again to everybody who's reached out. I'm very much brave facing it. This is very much brave facing it to do this video. But yeah, sometimes I have to push myself out of my comfort zone to get out of this mindset that I am in at the moment as well. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you all in my next video, whenever that may be. Bye.